Presentation is about different approaches to the study of semantics. You already know that the study of meaning in linguistics is called semantics, and this field of study has been of great interest to linguists and philosophers from the very beginning. And it has also become a center of interest for general communicators also. It has developed from earlier times to the modern period, and people and philosophers and general communicators have adopted different approaches: traditional approach, behavioral approach, structural approach, and generative approach in the study of semantics. So we will study them one by one. What is traditional approach? Traditional approach in semantics is associated with the works of great philosophers such as Plato, Aristotle, and many others. So they considered language, nature of human language, as the basic of all studies. So they considered that they were divided into two groups: naturalists and nurturists. The naturalists were of the view that language was a God-given entity, it is something divine, and man was not expected to make any change, but should concern himself with only observing and describing the rules of grammar. The Greek language was perceived to be a divine language at the beginning, but later Latin became the focus of philosophical analysis. The naturalists, on the other hand, considered language as a social property. Language was perceived to be a creation of man for the convenience of communication. This is the traditionalist approach. Then we have the behavioral approach. It is based on two concepts of stimulus and response. The stimulus response is can be considered as synonymous with cause and effect connection. Those who study behavioral aspect, they consider that language is here reduced to some observable, considered to be some observable entity. Language becomes open to examination. They think that meaning is influenced by reinforcement. They also consider the physical environment is perceived to be to contribute to the meaning rather than the internal thought processes. As against it, the generative approach to semantics considered thought processes to be the essence of language. Language is here generated in the mind. It was developed by Noam Chomsky. At the beginning, Noam Chomsky considered syntax considered syntax to be independent of semantics. But later on, he changed his point of view and thought the semantic components specify the rules necessary for the interpretation of deep structure in transformational generative grammar. Then we have the next approach, and the next approach was developed by Ferdinand de Saussure. They considered the structure and the system in language as the basic component. Emphasis in this approach is on the processes of segmenting and classifying the features of utterances. The relationship is usually paradigmatic and based on similarity and dissimilarity here. So we can say that traditionalists, behaviorists, structuralists, and generativists study semantics on their own way. By adopting these processes, by adopting these approaches, we can also go into detail about semantics. We can have psychological analysis in behaviorist approach. We can have we can have the study of deep structures in the approach adopted by structuralists. So these are interrelated. We cannot ignore that one. We cannot say that one approach is the solid, another approach is not solid. We cannot say that one approach is more basic, another is not basic. All of these approaches were adopted by different philosophers during different period of time, and then they all gave historical perspective to the study of semantics. So we must keep in mind all these perspectives. We must keep in mind all these approaches. We must know the basic idea behind all these approaches. Thank you.